Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the broadcast. It is Wednesday, January 30th, 2019. Oh, see, I almost slipped there. Almost slipped. 2019. January 30th, 2019. Thanks so much for being with me here for another edition of the show. Got some news and various other things to get into with you here on the show tonight. Thank you very much for being here again. And there is... Oh, I tell you what, all kinds of interesting things coming out yet again. Stuff we talked about in the past, and lots of interesting stuff. Thanks to everybody out there who continues to send messages and whatnot of support for my new 4-part presentation. Getting lots of emails again. I can't respond to everybody. I can't get back to everybody. I'm sorry. It's got too many emails and whatnot, but I appreciate everybody out there who has commented and whatnot so far. Just call up another round of mind blow on the fucking house there, bartender. Jesus Christ. Just serve them up. Just serve up that mind blow. Woo. I tell you what, because part 3 has got some shit in it, man. Part 3 to me was like the fucking, and it was just total by chance and accident that, actually all of this is just total by chance and accident, to be honest with you. People have been asking me about, people ask me all the time, oh, have you seen this? Have you watched this? And, when I'm working on a film and stuff, I don't have time to keep up with everything. Oftentimes what I do is I just make a list of things, and then when I have time, I go back and check them out. Since there was some info in part 3 of the Mystery Hollywood presentation pertaining to director Robert Zemeckis and all that stuff, I've been getting quite a few emails about some new series he has called Project Bluebeam that has to do with UFOs and stuff. And somebody said there was a recent episode where they were showing like the Nazi flying discs, and basically I guess at the end of the episode it was like a cliffhanger or whatever, but like, it just dematerialized, kind of like the portal machine in the movie Contact, and it disappears and doesn't know where this guy went. And that's kind of right in line with what I was talking about yesterday with this advanced technology. And people just still think it's science fiction, and even though some of this stuff's been around since before the end of World War II, literally, but you talk to people about interdimensional travel devices and stuff like that, and they just, smirk and laugh at you like it's kid stuff. Little do they know, a lot of this stuff's been around for 50, 60, 70 years. Some of the stuff they've had longer than they've known what to do with it. I mean, supposedly there's still technologies they have that are shelved because they haven't figured out what to do with it. I mean, there's even Tesla had stuff like that. I can't remember the name of this thing, but Tesla had this device that he created, and it was basically like a subatomic neutralizer is really what it was. And there was a guy that built them some years ago based on this Tesla technology, and he was going to sell this technology to the United States government. And at the last minute, the United States government pulled out of this technology, and the reason they pulled out of this is very interesting. The reason they pulled out of going ahead with this technology is because their scientists couldn't figure out what happens to the stuff that you put inside of this thing, because basically it uses sound frequencies and stuff to neutralize anything you put in it to complete disintegration. I mean, to the subatomic level, to where there's absolutely nothing left of whatever you put inside these things. So the government was interested in buying this technology to use for the disposal of, nuclear waste, whatever else, nasty byproducts of industry and chemicals and stuff. But because they couldn't figure out where it went, they wouldn't buy the technology. Now, that's interesting. Think about that. Think about that standpoint. Right? Because if something vaporizes something down to the subatomic level, then it's done. It's gone. It's like it never existed. That's what you're dealing with here. But it seems that the government has more information on this type of stuff than we do that they're not telling us about, obviously. And I think that lines up with the idea of this knowledge of interdimensional travel and stuff like that. Because obviously, when you look at this, it's clear that this thing neutralizes anything you put in it down to the subatomic level where even the atoms are gone. And like it never existed. But in their minds, they're thinking something like, well, this must mean that it goes somewhere. Like either travels to another dimension or it does something. So obviously they're operating on a set of knowledge that we don't have access to. Because why wouldn't you want a technology like this? It sounds to me like that would be a big solution to many of the world's problems. You know, the solution to the polluting of the oceans, you know, the problem with where do you put trash, the landfill issues, you know, third world, fourth world countries where garbage is an issue. I mean, you know, fuck, man, you ever been to Mexico before? I'm not shit talking Mexicans or anything at all, I promise you, but you ever been to Mexico? Because I have, because I've told the story before. I got fucking dysentery breathing the air down in that motherfucker. I didn't do nothing but the fucking plane depressurized and my ass got fucking Montezuma's revenge. I didn't even drink the water, the tequila, or anything. Didn't even get a chance to. It's fucking nasty, man. I mean, listen, you know, with all this stuff about the wall and you know, illegal immigration and stuff like that, I mean, a case could be made. Look at that, you know, hey, you know, look at what they've done to their country. You want these people coming here and doing this? I mean, to that extent of it, I you know, haven't been to Mexico. To that extent of it, I have to agree with at least that extent of the argument. You know, look at what they've done to their country. You know, motherfuckers don't run away from somewhere where it's pristine and clean, you know. But, I mean, if you had a device like this, it could solve a lot of problems. If you could neutralize anything, waste, I don't know. There's something about that bothers people. You know, like I saw something recently. I guess this was here locally in Dallas. I guess it was a local news thing about, you know, having a problem with the, you know, the morgue, the Dallas morgue or something, having a problem with what they do with, you know, unclaimed bodies, you know, homeless people, whatever else, whatever it might be. And there was controversy because for a while they were using this technique that basically just dissolves a human body down to liquid, and then they pour it down the drain, down the, you know, into the sewer system or whatever. And so people were having fucking fits about that and saying it was inhumane. But, you know, people don't have a problem with the fact that every single day, every time that a body goes to, you know, a morgue, it is embalmed and all that, they take all the blood out of the body and just take all that blood and push all that blood down the sewer every single day. I often thought about that. Like, goddamn, makes me think of horror movies, you know, like Chud. Remember that movie in the 80s? Cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller. Chud. I mean, it's just like, Jesus, man. What I know about blood sacrifice rituals and all the rest of this, and all this blood's being from all these bodies every single day is just being flushed down into the sewer systems in every fucking city and every town everywhere across the world. I mean, what's the difference between it being standard operating procedure to do it every day with blood, you know, than to do that with the bodies of unclaimed, you know, homeless people or whatever? It's like, you know, people just aren't. It just shows you how uneducated people are. That's just one little issue where people are uneducated, and most of the time people have fits and are up in arms about things that they're not even educated about, and it's sickening. It's retarded. It's just like I was talking about yesterday with, you know, people that don't watch my movies and want to fucking email me and want me to have a conversation with them about stuff they haven't even watched. Man, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Another thing I had yesterday. Another thing is just people who want to try and argue that don't have any fucking business trying to argue because they just flat don't know what they're talking about, but they think they know what they're talking about because you get these idiots that think they know fucking everything. Some dumbass left a comment on my show from yesterday. That movie's out already. Talking about Under the Silver Lake, like I'm lying about that. No, it's not. But if you would know the whole story if you bother even watching my fucking presentation, you cocksucker. But you won't because you think you fucking know everything. And I'm telling you, you don't know all the stuff that's in my fucking 4-part presentation. I guarantee you fucking don't. You can sit there and think you do. You can watch that movie and think that you know everything. You don't. Okay? I don't know everything either. But I know that I have uncovered something you don't fucking know about yet. The movie got fucking released in France. That was it. It got leaked on the internet into torrents, but it has not been officially released. You can go and look this up. You're just a moron. But you think you know everything and you want to argue about shit you don't even have all the facts on. Got no time for that shit. How fucking dumb are people? Swear to God, man, people are getting fucking dumber every day. Every goddamn day, people are getting dumber. I'm just making up the fact that I've read all these stories about it being pushed back. It's supposed to come out in April. Then it's supposed to come out, or it's supposed to come out in June. Then it's supposed to come out in December. Now it's been pushed back to April this year. Yeah, I'm just making all that up. Yeah, the movie's already, I'm lying to you. The movie's already been out and come out in theaters, and it's on Blu-ray and DVD to buy, and I'm just making all this stuff up. Yeah, that sounds like the more logical explanation, you fucking dolt. Like anybody in 2 fucking seconds on their own. That's what I don't get. I don't even get why somebody would even make a comment like that. It boggles my mind. It makes no sense. Just because it got leaked onto torrents does not mean the movie has been officially released. You're an idiot. I'm just making all this stuff up. Like you can't go to Amazon. You think I didn't try to go to Amazon as soon as I found out about this movie and try to buy it? Of course I did. That's where I found out about the vinyl record thing I was telling you about that looks like it's been completely canceled totally and isn't coming out at all, which leads me to believe the movie's not going to get an official release. So getting leaked onto BitTorrent and getting released in the theater is not the same thing. I can't even believe I have to waste my breath to say that out loud. That's what kind of idiocy we're dealing with some people out there. But of course, again, you wouldn't even be bringing that up had you bothered to watch the presentation itself. So you're another one of these assholes that wants to try and have a conversation or an argument about something that you don't even know nothing about because you even haven't even watched the subject at hand. That happened to me a couple of times when I was doing interviews. And I tell you what, if you're going to have me on your show, be goddamn sure that you watch the fucking movie or presentation or whatever it is before you have me on. I mean, if somebody wants to have me on, I have no problem sending that the host. I've always done this. I've mailed people DVDs, everything else. I always give whoever show I'm going on, I give them copies of whatever I'm promoting, whatever the newest movie or whatever thing is, and give them a chance. I've given people weeks and months before and gone on their show and still had these people tell me once they get me on the air, well, they didn't watch it. You're having me on a show for 2 hours talking about something you didn't watch, man? Come on. How disrespectful is that? I mean, like I said, it's one thing for just regular Joe Schmoes out there to do that. But when you got people on, I'm not going to lie to you. This is what happened to me the first time I went on fucking Coast to Coast AM, ladies and gentlemen. The goddamn host on Coast to Coast AM at that time didn't even bother to watch the full fucking movie. And goes off and starts talking about Obama and Democrats and what they're doing when I'm on the fucking Coast to Coast AM for the first time ever in my life, and I'm there to promote Lost Secrets of Ancient America Volume 1 and talk about the Rockwall and all that. The fucking host veers off into fucking Obama stuff and what the Democrats, all that, what the Democrats are doing. All it's just like, dude, that's not what I'm here to talk about. Could I talk about those things? Sure. But you're only bringing it up because, as you admitted, you didn't bother watching the fucking movie that I'm here to fucking talk about. Jesus. Yeah, man, I tell you what. And, and I got more comments from people grasping at stuff. Look, I can tell you right now, if you're waiting for a part 5 on this thing, part 5 is probably not going to happen. Maybe it may happen. Like I said, it may happen later on, but there will not be a part 5. There are absolutely zero plans for a part 5 for this series right now as it stands. I'm just going to put that out there and let you know. So if you're waiting, if you're holding your breath waiting for a part 5, I have absolute zero plans to do a part 5 right now. I feel that what I've uncovered and what I've done with these 4 parts, 8-9 hours of the stuff, is good enough for now. If more stuff presents itself, maybe in a few months, maybe close to the time this movie actually does come out, I might do a part 5 then. But for right now, my main goal is just getting the Spellcasters 2 and 3 out. And I'm thinking even part 3, I may even change up my approach on that one. As I mentioned yesterday, I'm kind of in that mindset now that I'm not going to be doing films anymore the way I've been doing them, and I'm going to be doing some more stuff, more like the presentation that I did, where I don't have to spend thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars and years worth of time and work and effort. Listen, again, if I was putting these out and I was selling fucking 50,000 copies or something, or 10,000 or 5,000 even, or 2,000 even. But, if I'm going to spend all this money and all this effort and I'm only going to sell 40 or 50 copies, there's no reason for me to even keep doing this, to be honest with you. Especially with the amount of work it takes. So I may even be changing my approach when it comes to Spellcasters Volume 3. I may even not even script that out altogether and just may go off the top of my head and move that. Because, I know all the info. I've got all the info down. I've had it down. I've been researching it for years. I may end up doing 3. 2's already been written. There's no reason for me to do 2 that way. 2's been written, so, it's best if I just go ahead and go set a course on that and get that out in the next week and a half or so. But Volume 3, I think I may change that just for the sake of being able to get it out at a much faster rate, because as soon as I get 2 out, I'm jumping back on to finish 3, and it should take me 3-4 weeks after that to do Volume 3. But again, it's got me rethinking my approach and stuff, as far as all that stuff goes. Again, look, if we were selling lots of copies, it would be different. But at this stage in the game, it just it's just not viable for me to keep trying to do films on the level I've been trying to do them at. And, because I got to tell you, it sucks. It sucks to work your ass off and spend thousands upon thousands of dollars or something, and then only a handful of people ever see it or watch it. It does. It's terrible. And it's become the definition of insanity for me, to be honest with you. I just feel like that's what I've done with all the movies I've ever made. I just keep, because nothing's changed. Even though the films get better, the info gets better, the quality gets better, everything gets better, but how many people they reach and all the rest of it doesn't. So it becomes the definition of insanity, repeating the same behavior over and over again, expecting different results, and getting the same ones every time and keeping doing the same thing. And that's what, honestly, that's what my filmmaking has become at this point. So, listen, if somebody comes to me with a budget in the future and says, hey, here's 50 grand, whatever, here's a budget for you to make a film. Yeah, I can do that. Because listen, I got ideas and got information and got topics for films for decades. Let me tell you, probably every studio production house on the face of the planet wishes that they had a never-ending, unending supply of material for films. And I have that. I have topics for mind-blowing shit to make movies about for the rest of my life. And 2 or 3 other lives. I've got so much. But, if it becomes not a viable thing to do, then that's just the reality of life. So, there you go. Let's see what we got here to talk about. Probably a bunch of bullshit, as it always is, right? This is interesting. I was never a fan of this band, but this has come up quite a bit in my research, and it is fascinating. I think definitely ties in with a lot of the other stuff I've uncovered. And that's about this guy, Richie Edwards, from the band Manic Street Preachers, who back in 1995, everybody thought he committed suicide because they found his car abandoned at a bridge in England, and but his body was never found. And then 13 years later, they declared him presumed dead. But now, a new book is coming out that claims Manic Street Preachers Richie Edwards planned his disappearance. So this is fascinating. You know, because I've talked about the different cases, stuff that I've found where it certainly looks like, and maybe you're coming from the standpoint that, you know, this particular musician or whoever it might be, you know, let's say Kurt Cobain or somebody like that, or, you know, Tupac or something, you know, where the story is they died in one manner. Then you find a conspiracy that, you know, like, for instance, Kurt Cobain, suicide, but then you start finding the conspiracy of he was murdered. And then once you get, like I get so far deep down that rabbit hole and start looking at the evidence, it starts appearing that the possibility he could have faked his death comes in there. And as I've talked about, you know, it seems like Elvis, you know, him being the king, kind of seems like he was the ground zero for that one. You know, the rumors persisted almost immediately after the death of Elvis Presley that he had faked his own death, his involvement with the CIA and with Nixon, with doing he's helping bring down some cartels that had been operating within the music industry that I've talked about before, certainly exist. And they were going to kill him because they found out he was a plant, and they faked Elvis's death, and he went into hiding. So, you know, again, you know, these cases could be true. You know, there's lots of these things like that. Tupac, there's certainly a lot of evidence. That's one thing. Whenever they talk about Tupac conspiracies, they want to talk about, you know, the chain snatching guy. They want to talk about this guy Orlando Anderson. You know, whoever they want to blame all this stuff on Suge. And let me tell you something, they've shut Suge up. Suge has been the main guy. I'm telling you, I for a long time bought into that. Suge is the devil stuff too, but when you really start to get down to it, folks, Suge Knight was just a patsy and a fall guy like they always have in any major operation. The people you really need to be looking at in terms of Tupac is you need to be looking at Interscope Records and Dr. Dre. Those are the main suspects. Those are the people you need to be talking to. Those are the people you need to be looking at. They've gotten away scot-free with this. They've laundered all that money they got from, you know, putting Suge Knight in jail after the incident that happened at the MGM Grand the night Tupac was supposedly murdered. He had fucking Death Row Records were valued nearly $1 billion in 1996. Put that in terms of today's money, you're closer to $3 billion. Where'd all that money go? And then, you know, you look at who got control of Tupac's assets after he died, his mother. Well, who got it after she died a few years ago? People don't want to talk about that. All the fucking top guys at Interscope. Wait a minute. Pac wasn't on Interscope anymore when he died. He'd gotten free of those. Remember, he went with obviously Death Row Records and all the rest of it. Why do they have control of this shit? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? You know, Jimmy Iovine, all those guys at fucking Interscope. Interscope's the fucking devil, man. I'm telling you, I knew guys who got deals with Interscope back in the 90s, and it basically was like signing the deal with the devil, dude. They own everything. And those guys parlayed all that cash into the Beats headphones thing and then sold it off to Apple, and they laundered their money that way. You made a big profit off that. Man, these guys become billionaires off this. But I don't think in every case that the same thing happens to every one of these guys. With this Manic Street Preachers guy, you know, you wonder, okay, why would somebody want to do that? Well, I think everybody has a different motive. And not every motive is going to be the same way. You know, the motive for faking Elvis's death is certainly not going to be the same motive as faking the death of Kurt Cobain or this Richie Edwards from Manic Street Preachers. I'll tell you my opinion. In terms of Richie Edwards' case, I think that he was recruited by the Israeli Mossad, and they faked his death, because a lot of the stuff that's coming out is saying that he disappeared to Israel, which is very strange. But yeah, again, that's another scenario. British intelligence or the Israeli Mossad or the United States Central Intelligence Agency, any of these groups would definitely, absolutely, if they had somebody that they had identified as a necessary asset, absolutely, they would fake that person's death and then put them in a classified role with a new identity as an agent. Absolutely, that's not beyond the realm of reality at all. A website reports that the book has been pulled together with testimony from his friends, the guitarist's diaries, essays, letters, and explores new evidence which has come to light and suggests he may have even moved to Israel. That includes reports that some members of Richie's family had also disappeared, that he had taken an interest in books which include the subjects of disappearance and a life in exile, and meeting a mysterious woman in Whitchurch Hospital who later left for Israel, and how in his last weeks he spoke of wanting to go to Israel, even acquiring tattoos that pointed towards this idea. Yeah, same thing with Kurt Cobain. I mean, why did Kurt Cobain, if he didn't get murdered and he faked his own death, well, he was wanting to get out at that time. I'm not 100% convinced he faked his death, and I'm 100% convinced he didn't either. So I'm going to do my best to show both sides of this in Spellcasters and whatnot. But, I mean, listen, if you got, I don't think this is the first time this has happened. Certainly not the last. I think it's probably happened more times if we actually knew. That's what I think. That's what my research has brought me to the conclusion of. I think if we actually knew how many times this has happened and how many times people have faked their deaths, it would be staggering. It would be mind-blowing even to those of us that think that we can wrap our minds around this stuff even a little bit. I think it would be mind-blowing. I think that's how high the number really is. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, this is not a surprise. FBI says Las Vegas gunman sought infamy influenced by father's memory. They concluded the investigation into the Las Vegas shooting, and just as we expected, no motive whatsoever. They can't figure out why this guy did this. But again, as you know, I mean, this guy was an absolute patsy. There were way more shooters there than just the one guy. And I pointed this out immediately as it was happening. You had, not all the shots were coming from up on high either. A lot of the shots were coming from the fence down on the ground level. You could hear, if you watch some of the videos, you can hear distinctly in the videos when the shooting was going on, you can hear distinctly that there are some shots that are coming from way up high because you can hear the muzzle flash coming from way far away. Then you hear other ones where people are right down on the ground. It sounds like the gunshots are coming from right down on the ground, and you can hear there's two different distinct sounds. So when you have two different distinct sounds like that coming from two different directions, then clearly you've got more than one person you're dealing with here. Now, again, this is another one of those things like I talked about yesterday. You can point this out all day. You can have all the evidence in the world. You can point out all of the clues and evidence to why this is true. And when you get done doing it, you can spend 20 hours doing it. And when you get done to the end of it, somebody's going to come along and say, well, why? Why would they do it? You can't tell me that. And like I said yesterday, I don't want to do it. It's not my job to do it. Because you could have 20 people all come up with different conclusions. And how are you going to prove that one person out of those 20 is right? You can't. Same thing they do with 9/11 stuff, man. That's why I got tired of the 9/11 stuff and got criticized because I wanted to talk about other topics and move on to different things. And why I left the 9/11 truth movement back in 2007 was because it becomes, after a while, it becomes a rat wheel. Because without real information, much of which is largely classified within the realms of the intelligence agencies, you're not going to know. So it's all speculation. Yet you can prove beyond any shadow of a doubt, whether it be 9/11 or whether it be one of these, whether it be the Las Vegas shooting, you can prove by looking at the forensic evidence, which is in this case the video evidence and the rest of it. And one of the guys said he saw, that was another thing. Was it somebody, I remember when for the Las Vegas shooting first happened, somebody that was on the stage, one of the performers said that he saw a shell casing hit the stage. I mean, a feat just absolutely impossible if you've got a lone shooter up in the top of the Mandalay Bay, or the 33rd floor, 32nd floor, whatever it was, whatever Masonic number it was. A shell casing ain't going to go that far, bruh. Sorry to have to tell you, a shell casing, the only reason you're going to see a shell casing on the stage is if there was somebody on or near that stage, had to be on it or above it, that was shooting, and that's why you saw a fucking bullet cartridge hit the stage. Do I believe there were multiple shooters here at the Las Vegas shooting? Absolutely 100% positive. You're an absolute fool if you think otherwise, because the video evidence suggests that. Can I tell you 100% why they did it? No. We could talk about, the gun issue thing. We could talk about this, that, and the other. But, I mean, all of those would not be, there's something bigger to it. I don't know what the reason is, but I can tell you this. It's something bigger than just trying to crack down on guns and get more gun control by the lefty liberals. I can tell you that. There's more to it than that. What else? Now, this is hilarious. Sometimes corruption is unavoidable, say Russian officials, as they bid to change the law to allow for it in certain circumstances. Boy, that just, my God. That fucking Russia. I tell you what. Well, that's just fucking, that's when you got criminals running your fucking country. When the criminals run the country say, hey, you know what? We got to do away with these anti-corruption laws. We got to decriminalize some of this stuff because, but in a way, I mean, you got to kind of hand to them. I think it's bullshit, but in a way, you got to hand to them because at least they're admitting this. You don't see American politicians doing that, do you? I mean, again, this is one of those issues, man, where they want you to be black and white on it. They want you to be 0-1 on it, and it's hard to be black or white or 0-1 on it because you can't argue with the fact that corruption is so widespread everywhere, but specifically so widespread when you get into the world of politics and when you get into the world of elected officials, that they're right. Corruption is so widespread, it can't even be avoided. You can't even play that game without being corrupt. I try to tell people all that time. All the time, well, if you want to change things, why don't you go get elected, be an official, be a congressman or something? Bullshit. That's not the answer to a goddamn thing. And if you think it is, you're a moron and you should just fucking do away with yourself now. Please, fuck out of here with that shit. You have to, just like when people were all fucking thinking Ron Paul was the savior and all that shit. Man, you don't get into politics, and you certainly don't stay in politics for as long as somebody like Ron Paul or anybody else has without, on some level, being corrupt. It's just impossible. It cannot happen. Because you have to be a crook or a criminal to be even allowed into that game. That's the only people they let in on that game. And Russia is now saying, hey, look, this is, you got to be a crook. So we need to get a little lax on these anti-corruption laws because it's unavoidable. And no matter what you try to do, there's always going to be corruption. Now, to me, that's a double-edged sword because in one way you see their point and the other way you go, no, wait a minute. This is just a fucking way to give yourself a license to steal. We can't, what was it? We can't, like fucking Ricky and on Trailer Park Boys, if I can't smoke and swear, I'm fucked. So he tells the judge, I can't fucking represent myself in a court manner if I can't speak, if I can't swear and fucking and smoke. That's basically what Putin's saying here. Look, if I can't be a corrupt piece of shit and the rest of the people in politics can't be corrupt pieces of shit, then the whole system's going to break down because it's all based on that. You know what I mean? You kind of see his fucking point, even though it's, again, just a way for them to avoid being prosecuted for being corrupt assholes and being paid off and doing things that aren't in the best interest of the people and doing them for the best interest of the corporations or your own pocketbook or whatever else it may be. But again, it's one of those fucking, not everything's black and white. Russia could amend its anti-corruption laws to decriminalize certain acts if they're deemed to be unavoidable. The Ministry of Justice opened a public consultation period on Friday for its proposal, which would make officials exempt from punishment if objective circumstances made corrupt activity unavoidable. That's hilarious. Well, he didn't really have a choice. If he didn't take that fucking $4.5 million payoff from dude over there, then, nobody would be able to do his job. Yeah, is he a piece of shit? Yeah, does he lie? Yeah, but, we got to let him off on this one because this could have significantly affected national security or whatever it may be if, Boris over here didn't fucking take those rubles from fucking Kalishnikov over here, or whatever the fuck his name is. The proposal, which is published online, does not provide any details on what these unavoidable circumstances might look like. Of course not. Of course not. Because they want a blank check. Fuck no. They're not gonna outline any specific what those unavoidable circumstances might be. Okay, well, because that would be your next logical question, right? All right, well, if you're gonna do this, then what situations would it be? Well, we don't know. So basically what you're saying is you want a blank check. We need to do away with anti-corruption laws so we can have a blank check. So this is basically, again, this is something that criminal governments do when they're run by criminals. And listen, man, organized crime, the mafia, the mob, those guys and the corporations working together, that's really who's running the planet right now, if you want to get right down to it. Trump is not free from that. He's just involved with these gangster mafia criminals and has been for decades. That's why so many of these guys were so fucking happy, and some people like Putin wanted to get Trump in there. Because Putin's an usurper in Russia. He got in control through, involvement in the former KGB and involvement in organized crime and everything else. He's a gangster who became leader. It's in his best interest to get the United States to have a leader that's corrupted in with organized crime. That's what all of this is about. Same reason why the fucking, corrupt NFL and the rigged NFL they're all their bullshit. I've been talking about this shit for years, man. Go and look who started the NFL, the Hunt brothers. Why do you think they have the Lamar Hunt trophy they give out to whoever wins the AFC every year before the Super Bowl? Why do you think it's the Lamar Hunt trophy? Because the original Dallas team became the Kansas City Chiefs, and then they formed the Dallas Cowboys after that. I mean, fucking all the people that own fucking New England Patriots and the coaches and the staff, man, those guys are all in bed with organized crime. Those guys they've got plants everywhere. See that shit a couple weeks ago or whatever, the AFC Championship game, and fucking that faggot ass Tony Romo-sexual fucking used to play for the Dallas Cowboys. Why do you think that guy was up there even before the plays called, well, he needs to throw it to Gronk here, hadn't thrown it to Gronk in fucking weeks. Well, he needs to throw it to Gronk here, and then that's the next thing that he does. Because these people, they got plants, and they got fucking things everywhere. It's all about affecting the point spread and Vegas and organized crime. And these guys control that. It's all fucking phony. Politics are no different. That's why you had Brady having his fucking Make America Great Again hat up in there. Man, these guys ain't fooling anybody. Well, actually, I take that back. They're fooling everybody. They ain't fooling me. Hopefully they're not fooling you, but they're fooling everybody else. Let me see what else we got. Here we go. Exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. The modern equivalent of bread and circuses. Fascinating chart shows how ever cheaper gadgets and toys kept the masses distracted while the price of education, healthcare, and childcare skyrocketed over the last 2 decades. Again, it's all fun and games. You know, I could have been yelling about this and talking about this for the past 12 years as I have, but that doesn't matter. It's all fun and games till they come out with a fucking chart and show you this stuff. A stunning chart of U.S. inflation rates over the past 2 decades have shown how the prices of electronic baubles have plunged while the cost of childcare, healthcare, and higher education has skyrocketed. The chart published earlier this month by economist Mark Perry for the American Enterprise Institute uses Bureau of Labor Statistics to chart inflation in several sectors between 1998 and 2018. One pundit said of a previous version that the chart shows the modern equivalent of bread and circuses to satiate the masses. The chart shows a huge divergence between economic consumer goods, which are often imported, and goods and services which cannot be imported, such as healthcare and housing. Leading to declines in price were televisions, which dropped in price by 97%. Toys followed, dropping 74%, along with software down 68%, and cell phone service down 53%. On the other end of the scale, many of the essentials to forming a middle-class family surged in price. Hospital services skyrocketed 211%, as college tuition and textbooks shot up 184%. Overall, inflation was at 56%, and wages were up slightly more than at 80%, indicating some growth in real wages, but not nearly enough to keep up with the fastest-growing categories of inflation. So again, we've all seen this. We've all known this. We've all been guilty of this. But again, it's all fun and games still. You know, you see it right there in black and white. See it on the fucking page. See it on the chart, huh? Oh, this is fucking hilarious. You know, I mean, I know everybody still keeps talking about the fucking robot apocalypse and people are in fear of it. And then, you know, the people that are making the robots and the people in government keep telling us you're crazy, you're out of your mind, you know, to worry about this. You're just fucking driving yourself crazy. You're worrying about something you shouldn't be worried about. And then they go and do some shit like this and wonder why people are fucking freaked out about it and worried about it. Is this the dawn of Skynet-style machines? Robots that can imagine itself? Huh? A robot that can imagine itself? I mean, a robot that can imagine itself and became self-aware is built by scientists. I mean, what are we supposed to think? I mean, really? What are we supposed to think? Are we supposed to think you're creating these things for the betterment of mankind? Or that it's more likely you're making them to wipe out mankind when you make them do things like being able to imagine itself and become self-aware? This didn't happen by accident. They built this by design. A robot able to imagine itself has been created in a step towards the self-aware robots envisioned in the Terminator movies. Skynet and other sci-fi machines are able to learn and decipher from scratch, but real-world robots have yet to master this art. Now, scientists have managed to create a machine that can learn without prior programming via deep learning. That's just wonderful. You don't even have to program the motherfucker. You just turn it on and it's good to go. But nah, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist if you think they're trying to create killer robots to depopulate a good portion of the planet. After an initial 24 hours of behaving like a babbling infant, it was able to grasp objects from specific locations and drop them with 100% accuracy, thanks to 35 hours of training. Well, of which it apparently gave itself, because again, they just told you these things ain't even being programmed. You don't have to program these motherfuckers. Which means if you don't have to program them to get them to do things, that also means there's no way to counteract their programming to turn them off. Well, this is just wonderful. But no, go back to sleep. Here, go back, watch fucking Dancing with the Stars some more. You know, Super Bowl's this weekend. Go, watch that. Quit worrying about killer robots. Quit worrying about robots taking over your jobs and all the rest of it. You're out of your minds. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're listening to these kooks on the internet. And pay no attention to the robot we just made that doesn't even have to be programmed. You turn it on in 35 hours, it can train itself to grab anything from a specific location and then drop it somewhere with 100% accuracy. Even when relying entirely on its internal self-model, the machine's imagination, the robot was able to complete the pick-and-place task with a 44% accuracy success rate. The device consists of a jointed artificial arm, grasping hand similar to those used in numerous production plants. What makes this robot different to thousands of others is that it knows what it is. Well, that's wonderful. And if it knows what it is, then that means it knows what you are too. And that means it knows that you aren't one of it. And when it starts to realize you could be a threat to it, what do you think it's going to do? Because it doesn't have programming to tell it otherwise. U.S. scientists gave it the ability to imagine itself using a process of self-simulation. Professor Hod Lipson, director of the Creative Machines Lab at the University of Columbia, New York, where the research was conducted, said, if we want robots to become independent, to adapt quickly to scenarios unforeseen by their creators, then it's essential that they learn to simulate themselves. I mean, they're sitting here making killer robots that they want to fucking unleash on people that have no safety net to them, that have no, a kill switch. You've got, because they don't need a kill switch because they're artificially intelligent and they become self-aware on their own without any programming. But again, hey, why are you worrying about this? We got this. You're just a crazy conspiracy theorist. Guy's been listening to people on YouTube. We would never do that. Here's fucking The Voice is coming on tonight. Here, the fucking Super Bowl's coming on this weekend. You know, you should be paying attention to stuff that matters, not worried about what we're doing over here with robots. We would never make robots that would kill anybody. Come on, you're crazy. And they're going to continue to do that. How many of these other topics, man? Again, this is my 12th year on air, ladies and gentlemen. I have one of the longest running, continually running shows on the internet, period, end of story. If not the longest. Now, I'm sure there's probably somebody's been going longer than me, but I don't know of any. So 12 years on air, whatever. Listen. How many times have we seen stuff like that? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had stuff. You know, like I said, yesterday's conspiracy theory is today's accepted fact. So many things now. I mean, I can even remember back in the 90s. I've talked about this a million times. This is a fact, and people just take it for granted now. I can remember when talking about the Bilderberg Group was a certifiable insanity offense. I'm telling you. Just the idea that there were people who met in secret and you believed in it, people would call you nuts and equate you to the fucking poofling guy down on the corner asking for fucking change and, talking about fucking the end is near. I'll never forget that. What was it, back in 2007, 2008? Just casually going into the fucking convenience store and looking down at the Dallas Morning News, and it says, Governor Rick Perry attends secretive Bilderberg Group meeting, and it's on the front page of the fucking Dallas Morning News. And I could, distinctly remember 10 years before that, telling people about the Bilderberg Group. And I'm telling you, man, back then, didn't nobody want to hear about this shit. At least today, even people who aren't maybe necessarily into this shit, to a certain extent, will hear you out and hear what you have to say. It was not the same back then. All y'all motherfuckers that are new jacks that have only gotten into this stuff over the past 10 years, man, y'all fucking know. Y'all got it easy. Y'all don't even fucking know, man. I mean, people bitch about YouTube and, what you can't put on there and all this stuff and this, that, and the other. But, man, compared to the way it used to be, you got it good. There wasn't even a platform and outlet or to even do any of this stuff back then in any way, shape, or form. There certainly wasn't when I started. That's why I had to create everything I've ever done from scratch. It's just unbelievable, man. Again, yesterday's conspiracy theories, today's accepted fact. So, again, the, killer robots and all that stuff, they'll laugh at you now. Meanwhile, admit they're creating them. But if you have a problem with it, you're a kook, you're a troublemaker, you're a conspiracy theorist. Shut up, watch the fucking Super Bowl, drink your fucking shitty Budweiser beer, drink your fucking shitty tap water, eat your fucking GMO foods, watch the Super Bowl, shut up, quit worrying about what we're doing over here. We got this. You're a kook for saying we want to make killer robots. And now shut up and let's do it. That's basically what they're saying. You're crazy if you say we're doing it, but now shut up and let us do it. That's what's going on. And all the shit going down in Venezuela, that's another criminal fucking, got another fucking criminal gold heist going on down there like that Trump now approves of. They're going to create destabilize that government. CIA's been doing government destabilization ops for fucking decades. Nothing new under the sun. But this time it's different because like I said before, it's different now because you get the people who are running the governments now, as opposed to the ones that have been running it in the past, are definitely more mafioso and more criminal. And you got real criminals. It used to be you had politicians who became criminals or politicians that became corrupt. Now it's not the other way around. Now you've got people who are already corrupt and already criminals who are then ascending to presidents and heads of state and nations. And they're loading up 20 tons of gold out of Venezuela, getting ready to ship that shit off to Russia. Russia's denying it. Why is it going to Russia instead of us? Why is Russia now trying to get the stranglehold on all the world's oil? They don't need it all. That's because they want to run this shit. They want to run it all. They don't want to just be the world superpower. They want to run the whole fucking planet. All right, that's it. I'm spent. Hey, we gotta pay the electric. We gotta pay the fucking operating costs this week. We gotta pay everything. We need a minimum of $900, no later than 5 p.m. on Friday. Get your contributions in, folks. Go check out the banner for it. You'll see it here in the links on YouTube and down at the bottom there. And hey, 9 people contribute $100 each. Check out all the perks and stuff we got too. We got some great perks up there this month. If you contribute $100, you'll get 5 free downloads from the download shop, which could also include the new 4-part presentation if you're into that. $300 contribution will get you lifetime downloads from the download shop, which means anytime a new presentation or a new film goes up in there, after you've contributed $300 for this month, and we're only going to have that deal this month, you'll get, whenever something new goes up, you just email me, hey, I'd like to get this download since I've got the lifetime unlimited. Boom, I send you the link. There it is. If you contribute $1,000 or more, you're going to get the lifetime downloads, and you'll get a 30-minute Skype session with yours truly. All right. Contribute. Go and get yourself a copy of all 4 parts of the Mystery Hollywood series if you hadn't seen it yet. If you've only seen parts 1 through 3 and you haven't seen part 4, then go get part 4 now. Do it, do it, do it. You want to see this. I assure you. Because I put together some shit here nobody else has yet, and that's a fact. I love you all. Get your contributions in so we can do this, folks. It's on. Take care.